Hi again. This is Rosa Hopkins with Gutsy Christianity. Today, we have a fun topic. We're going to be talking about fun. This video is in defense of fun. It is in response to the question, can Christians have fun? Should they have fun, as opposed to being somber, serious, sour-faced? Nobody would say that, right? But the question in a lot of people's minds is, how much fun is too fun? Aren't we supposed to be very serious, sober people? And I think there's a common misconception about the verses that talk about being sober. For example, it says in the Bible, be sober, be vigilant, for your enemy prowls about as a roaring lion seeking to devour someone. And being silly in one sense isn't the same as having disregard to the fact that there's an enemy of our souls. So those are two separate things. But so you see a lot of pushback against people that are naturally silly. And as you can see, like I've got the Kraken. Can you see that? That's the Kraken. He's around my neck here. What's crack-a-lackin'? Anyway, and there's a lot of silliness in this house, a lot of jokes. For example, I like to share jokes on my page, and people will tell me that's in poor taste. You need to not make fun of. They'll accuse me of making fun of the Amish or making fun of whatever jokes happen to be about. And unless you take this totally dour, serious, unhappy, lacking in fun, then you're drawing people away. And you're not very Christian, and it's a bad testimony, and it's a bad witness. Now, conversely, the inverse must also be true. If you're promoting a sourpuss, glum version of Christianity is the only means of holiness, you'd be arguing that that is a good witness, and I would say it's not. I mean, do it if you want, if it makes you happy, but most people are not terribly drawn to being almost like, a monastic lifestyle where you take these vows of poverty, vows of silence, vows of bland clothing, and all this sort of, abstinence from color and life and vigor and vim. It's not necessary, but I mean, there's a certain asceticism that people have been drawn to, but overall, for the most part, a lot of people can see through that, and there's a reason why. So in defense of fun, first of all, and I actually can speak to this because for the longest time I was rather humorless and had thought to myself that to be somebody who's saved and exuding the proper demeanor, that you kind of had to be very, very serious. And I'm actually a very serious person. I like to study things academically. I like to do a lot of research. I'm not really a party person, not really extroverted for, I can be extroverted here to a camera because there's no one talking back to me. So you're over there and maybe you're shouting at the screen, but I can't hear it. So it doesn't matter. So it's really just me and that guy on the floor. There's a guy on the floor over there. We call him Joe lovingly. He's my husband of 20 years. Say hi, Joe. Hi. Okay, that's enough. Go back in your box, Joe. Okay, so stress and anxiety, they're not good for us healthily. And in the world today, especially 2020, my God, there's so much to keep us on edge. And everyone is talking about how the stress of lockdown, shutting down jobs, toilet paper, I'm not, hashtag toilet paper, not even going to go there. There's enough to keep us on edge. I mean, you don't need to look for things. I don't think anybody needs to. And you have loss of sleep because of it, sometimes loss of appetite because of it. Stress can do a number. Your hair can fall out. Those are my dogs, by the way. So we live, this is kind of funny, not even a mile from the fire station. And so because we live in backwoods hill country, they release this siren. And so my dogs believe it is the great dog Charlie Brown, so they have to respond to it, and that's what they're doing. So they're out there, and there's no way to shut them up. That's just what they do. It's really fun when it happens at 3 a.m. The 3 a.m. wake-up calls are the best. I love those. Okay, so anxiety and stress is not good for the body. It's very bad. As a matter of fact, they even say it can make you heal. I was going to say less often. Well, yeah, technically, but it can make it so that it takes longer for your body to heal, because it's depressing your responses. It's depressing your system. Okay, so they're good medical sound reasons not to do it. Your body's your temple. It's your job to steward it. So, and we also know that the Bible says that a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. I like King James. That's my favorite. So you'll hear a lot of these and thous and thou shalt nots and all of that. So what happens when you have an emphasis on austerity is that you're essentially saying that God is rigid. But if you look at creation, which in Job it says that, oh, is it Psalms? I don't remember. Okay, the point is, it does say in the Bible that creation, the expanse of the heavens, speaks of his divinity, of his having been the creator. So that, or that might be Romans 1, actually. No, it does say it elsewhere. I didn't look this one up. I'm just ad-libbing, okay? So stop judging me. But the point is, though, that you can look at creation and you can tell things about God. And one thing that we can tell about creation is that play is built into it. Yeah, so when COVID's over, this is just on a side note, if you're ever like having a party, you should totally invite me, because although I don't like parties or people or any of that stuff, if I can just sit and talk, I can entertain your guests. Okay, I'm very interesting and have a lot of tidbits from all the random stuff that I read all the time. And so, no, why can't I go to the party? Why are you shaking your head? I want to go to the party. You're not going to stop me. This is 2020. The future is female. You will hear me roar. 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 Okay, that was unplanned, by the way. Okay, so who were rigid and humorless? I'm glad you asked. The Pharisees. They were very humorless and rigid, and they did it to show how holy they were. See, they were better than you. They were better than me. And I'd say, go ahead and let them keep being better. It's good for you. I don't really care. So what they did was they made sad faces in the marketplace. They disfigured themselves. They were fasting. Have you ever gone without food? It makes you pissed off. I mean, it just does. I've never met a person, and I mean, you can fast if you want, but don't lie and tell me you weren't teary or upset or crying into your pillow, or like that all your life suddenly made sense about how you hate everything. And you made all these connections because you weren't eating. You weren't focused on food, and you didn't have anything to kind of keep everything humming as it normally does. Well, they were fasting, and they were doing it for show, and they made themselves even more disfigured. They would put ash on their faces, and they would walk around, and so sad. That was frowned on. Jesus didn't really go for that. That was all for show, and doing things for show is also hypocrisy. So there's a lot to unpack in there that I'm not going to. So anyway, so the quest for greater holiness. Why? Why do we need greater holiness? And the truth is, I could talk at length. There's a lot of things, almost an entire industry of things to add to your holiness, because you're not holy enough. What Jesus did. My nose is really itchy. I'm not going to pick my nose here on camera, but my nose is just really dry and crusty, and it's just itching terribly. I hate to share that with all of you. But, another thing I'm just going to say real quick. These videos, which I would like to do more of them, you should hit subscribe if you want to see them. But I'm not putting on, and I told my husband, I said, we are not putting any effort into this. And I'm just going to be who I actually am, and without any put-ons or adding on. And so, like, a lot of times you suck in your breath and you're like, hi, my name is... And we're not doing that. It's just as if we were friends. And if, as if you let me monopolize the entire conversation, which I think you'd have to be okay with if we were to be friends. Don't agree to that, because that just... I'm watching you. I see you. Okay, anyway, so... Sorry, yeah. So instead of living by faith, which is how the Proverbs 31 woman lived and how we essentially are able to live by faith, we don't. Instead, we look for, is God okay with this? Is God okay with that? Is God okay with this? Oh my God. And with activities and interests and things that we could be doing for fun, we nitpick it to death. And you strain at gnats, you swallow camels. Mark my word by it. Not going to go into that a whole lot, except to say it's okay to loosen up, because there are bigger things coming down the road and you're not ready for it. And just mark my words, God willing, I'll be 42 years old in about 10 days. 8 days, actually. And I've seen a lot of things. I've been on the backside of the religious industrial complex. I've seen a lot of faux pas. And 90% of it is because people were exhausted and burned out. And what burns you out, what grinds the gears metal on metal more than anything, is not having any fun and working and being austere. You cut all the fat, you trim all the fat, eventually you're going to go and get the biggest, fattest hunk of steak or whatever, pork rinds. I used to like those when I was a kid a lot, by the way. And you're going to overindulge. That's just human nature. So we look for more, to be more holy, but you don't have to be. And the reason I think we say that we know, but it's because our way has already been paid. You don't need to add to it. You don't need to be like the Pharisees. You don't need to starve yourself of food unless it's something that's a discipline that you do to get close to God as part of your relationship. But as far as performative religion, you don't need to do it. And so I love how Jesus was at a party. Now, I don't drink because I was an alcoholic, so I can't have alcohol. I'm highly addicted to sugar in general, so I try to live a sugar-free life as much as I can. And even I eat whole grains because it turns to sugar and my body just cannot handle it. But for people for whom that's not an issue, look at Jesus. When he went to the party, he literally brought the fun. He made wine out of water. And you're going to tell me that they didn't have fun, they didn't have a good time, they didn't party? They did. There was laughter. And so that was the very first miracle. What if the first miracle was Jesus bringing the fun? I mean, how much more does that speak to the beauty of creation, that fun was built in? It's literally a part of it. And you see animals in the wild are built to have fun, even though it's dangerous to have fun and to be playful. It makes you vulnerable. You see polar bears having fun. It's how their brains grow and develop. It's children are designed for play. Adults learn better when they play as part of learning. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And so I just want to look at a couple of things. The Proverbs 31 woman, she laughed at the future. She threw her head back and she laughed. And she's our ideal if you're a woman. And if you're a man, yeah, why not? I mean, it's okay. All scripture is inspired and is beneficial for teaching and reproving, and so that the man of God may be fully furnished to every good work. And so, life abundant, what does that mean? Does that mean sitting in a chair and frowning? Or does it mean that fun, joking, laughter, and sarcasm? Oh, we'll have to make one just on sarcasm alone, because that's a big topic and one that's really, really pissing me off in terms of how people are viewing that these days. Really getting on my last nerve about that. Sarah, when she was told that she was going to have a baby, she named him Laughter. That's what Isaac means. And she said that she would laugh and others would laugh with her. And then look at this. A merry heart, it does good like medicine. But envy is rottenness to the bones. And don't tell me that people that can't laugh aren't envious. You can't tell me that for 1 minute, because they are. Okay, so as far as grace goes, Ephesians 2:8-9, for it is by grace. Pick this up and read it because I'm an old lady, so I have to put it further from my eyes than I used to when I was a young whippersnapper, like most of you. So it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Ephesians 2:8-9. So you don't have to do the works-based performative religion. You can leave that to the wayside. John 19:30 says, when he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. It is finished. You don't need to add to it. You can laugh. John 10:10, the thief comes only to kill and destroy. I have come that they might have life and have it to the full. Having life abundant means you can laugh, enjoy it. Ecclesiastes 2:4 says there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. And so making life all about one emotion, one state of being, that's not really the way of it. I mean, it would be crazy if you laughed all the time, right? And so there's a time, but there's definitely a time for it, especially when you're able, because what if tomorrow you're not? What if tomorrow you're depressed and you already used up all your energy and your points, so to speak, on being heavy-hearted when you didn't need to. Ecclesiastes 8:15. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there's nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun. I also do think it's worth mentioning that some of us, and I know this was my story, felt so guilty about the kinds of prodigal lives that we lived before that sometimes we actually don't feel like we're deserving. We feel like we owe penance, like we ought to be guilty. And Jesus, well, God, he put our sins as far as the east is from the west. They don't meet together. And some people would say, and Jesus, was asked, "How much do you love me?" He spread his arms and he said, "This much." And that east to the west, like I personally really like that. To me, I can see that as far as he spread his arms to the east or to the west, sin has been removed from us. It's remembered no more. And so if God doesn't remember it anymore, we don't have to. And not enjoying the life that God gave us is not the way to show repentance of sins. It's by a changed life. And I think of my life verse, which is Psalm 41:3. And it's about how God pulled me out of a pit. He put me in a spacious place. It says he put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise and thanksgiving to our God. Many will see it and many will see it and trust in the Lord. Or it's something to that extent. But in other words, they'll see it and they'll also give glory and praise to God, and they'll put their trust in him. And you see that the redeemed, they sing. You see it in Revelation. They're singing. You see it in the Old Testament. People are singing. Psalm 105, Psalm 100 has 5 verses, and it talks about enter his courts with thanksgiving and praise. And then I was glad when I went to the house of the Lord. And so you see all these, rejoice, rejoice. This is the day the Lord has made. We will be glad and rejoice in it. So rejoice, have fun, tell your jokes. One last thing, though. I just remembered this. I read this study in Psychology Today, and well, actually, that was them talking about the study that was done elsewhere. And it says that people, and it's kind of harsh, but life is sometimes. People who don't like your jokes, it's not that your jokes aren't funny, it's that they don't like you. That when a person is in love, for example, and they're laughing at Tiffany's jokes over here, and we all know Tiffany is not that funny, it's because the person's view of Tiffany, because they're in love with her, makes her funny to them. And likewise, if you don't like Brian over here, I can't stand him. When he makes a joke, it could be legitimately funny. You're not going to laugh. You don't think it's funny. And so a lot of times what we think, because I get trashed for the jokes I make. It doesn't matter how innocuous. People always have something to say. And I was reading through that long study, and they are talking about humor. And basically that people who don't like your humor, it's because they don't like you. They think that, and you see that with comedians a lot of times, that, they'll accuse them of identity politics. But what it is if the comedian is perceived as a liberal or a boogeyman of some type that is your opponent in the culture war, suddenly that person's not funny, whether or not they are legitimately good at their craft. All that to say that the people that have made you feel bad about having fun, they don't like you. I'm sorry to say that. You can look up maybe I'll put the links in the description if you like reading academic studies. Don't know. Anyway, but so you are within your full right. And if people don't like it, honestly, I've been taking that as a cue to be more engaged in the things that I think are humorous and funny, because there's a lot of people that say, oh, I really like that. That was funny. Thank you for showing me that it's okay to be me. It's okay to be who I am. And the people who don't like it, they're not my crowd. They're not going to be there for me. They'll probably be the ones with rocks in their hands. And maybe it's good to make a clean break if we can. And I'm not discounting that it doesn't hurt, because it does. I'm a human being. I don't really like being called a heretic and a Jezebel. It's not really soup du jour for me, but nevertheless, it tells me a lot about people. So you go on and you have fun today. Laugh it up. Enjoy the gifts that God gave you. Take care. God bless you. Be sure to subscribe. Tell me what you want to hear about. Tell me about it, hopefully here on YouTube. Don't be afraid. A lot of y'all didn't leave comments yesterday. Leave them here. I mean, you left them on Facebook, but leave it down here so we can talk, have a community so it can grow. And you guys have only seen my Facebook stuff up until now, but I started on YouTube back in 2011 or 12 doing videos. I have about 500 total. You check those out too, but go ahead and hit the bell or however you and the subscribe button, and share it on Facebook or whatever, and hopefully we can have more conversations. Thanks again. Bye.